Synthaholics, it's the Botanical Catastrophe.
Welcome to Synthaholics. This is your host, Aaron O'Brien, and with me is Holly Michelle.
Hey, hey.
What's up? Again, we don't have our captain, I guess you could say. David Duncan is not here. His avatar is still broken, and we're trying to get his head set on straight. But Holly, you know his head will never be totally on straight.
No.
No, it'll always be a little... Shall we say cockeyed, Dave?
A little cocked.
Right. Yeah, a little cocked is for sure. We hope you enjoyed. We did the Avatar. It was a lot of fun talking about it. There was a lot involved.
There was a lot.
There's a lot going on, and I don't know. It's weird when you go over a big movie like that. I honestly, I think I spent the next day or two still. I was thinking about our conversation just about it, and just about like ecology and all sorts of stuff like that. It was still rattling around in my brain afterwards. So
cool.
So I guess that's good, but that's good sci-fi. That's my definition. Is if you're still thinking about something afterward, you know, the writers and people who did that movie, book, or whatever, I think they did their job.
Yeah, it's good storytelling.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
So, storytelling, we are talking about the Voyager episode Tuvix, or Twix.
Twix. Yes, we were going to talk about a book, but Holly fell short of that goal, so...
Don't beat yourself up. I just want everyone to know that she tried to plow through a whole novel in, like, I think actually less than a week.
Yeah, it was like 4 days.
Yeah, didn't quite happen. So it's okay. That's a lot to do, especially when you have other things to do. But we will be getting back into that in a couple of weeks, probably after one of Dave's when he's back when he's back in the repair shop again. So. But before we get into Tuvix, we just got a couple strings of news. I don't know if you saw some of these. First of all, Star Trek news. William Shatner said he'd play Kirk again, but I'm like, give me a fucking break. Shatner would play anything if you give him a big enough check. Right. It's like, I have a hard time taking the man seriously. I love what he's done in the past, but you know, he's purely opportunist, and rightly so. And I love what he's done for Star Trek and everything, but it's like, you know, I hate that these original cast members like go back and forth, like, well, I don't want to do that anymore. And then it's like, well, they offer me enough money.
Right.
Yeah. So, whatever. I'm not going to play much lip service to that. The one other thing, I don't know if you saw this, Holly, but we got kind of sad news from the original cast. Nichelle Nichols, Uhura, apparently there was caught on tape of her just screaming and yelling as she felt like she was being mistreated. It basically comes down to that she has dementia, and I don't know if we've talked about this before. I know when me and Dave spoke to her, I think 2 years ago, she was very, very coherent, and it was lovely to talk to, but people said that even at that point, she was kind of going into the stages of dementia, and may have already been. But apparently there was an issue with her management and with her son, and they were trying to, her son was supposed to be taking her home, apparently, has I guess legal guardianship. I'm not entirely certain between who's got who, like as in this is kind of all up for debate, but then it was caught her on tape and she's screaming and yelling, you're trying to you're trying to put me away and get rid of me and stuff like that.
Aww.
Yeah, so it's sad because it's I mean, there's not much. Obviously, nobody was there to see except they heard the recording of her yelling. Mm-hmm. And I know that they said that the Los Angeles Police Department is looking into it and doing welfare checks on Nichelle Nichols and stuff like that, so making sure everything's okay. But, unfortunately, she's just getting older, so... but I have to say she was quite a lovely lady talking to her, and still just ravishingly beautiful. So, mm-hmm. So I mean, even in her at her age, she's just a beautiful lady. So, all I can say is I wish her the best. Aww. So that sucks. It's a sucky story, and I hate seeing stuff like that.
That is pretty sucky. I did not see or hear of that. So
yeah, if you look it up, but don't play the audio. It's just kind of sad.
Yeah.
We also got quick news. This just came in rotation. Not that I'm surprised, but we were talking before how Star Trek 4 wasn't going to come out. And one of the things was talked about was the paychecks that was going to Chris Pine and Chris Helmsworth. Chris Helmsworth, of course, playing Captain Kirk's father, George Kirk, that mm-hmm. we saw die in the first reboot movie. And Helmsworth came forth and basically said that he didn't feel like the script and the story was quite there, and he felt it was he was underwhelmed by the story, and he thought, well, why are we bringing this character back if we're not going to wow the audience? Mm-hmm. So. Hey, maybe that was just a question, just a good way to say, hey, it's not about the money. It was about the script, and maybe it was. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe it was like, the script sucks. But from what we've heard too is that a lot of it had to do with financing of the movie too as well. So
yeah,
hard to say on that one, but maybe it was both as well. So
well, hopefully it was both. I mean, we need a little bit more integrity in the Hollywood.
I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think that I do think that obviously money plays a big part in these guys' roles, but also if you're going to be part of a stinker for a script and that people won't like it, or you don't think people would really dig it, maybe you just have to distance yourself. So
yeah.
That's a smart business decision too. If you just don't think it's going to do any good. So, and Chris Helmsworth obviously big with Marvel movies and Thor, and he's going to do the new Men in Black movie. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that guy's, let's face it, that guy's got it made.
Set. He's not hurting.
Yeah, he doesn't need to worry about anything for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty excited when, he was Kirk's father, because I was like, wow, I never realized how similarly they looked until the film. So the thought of him coming back was exciting. But yeah, if it's not a good story, I think, actors need to be a little more discerning about the roles they take on. And
you would hope that, some actors would say like, hey, this script sucks. Call me in, 6 months.
Call me when you fix it.
And punch the script up a bit, so. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I guess we'll never know. And I honestly, from what I've heard, other than the Tarantino movie, there isn't any big calls for, new Star Trek movies coming up. So we'll see if even the Tarantino movie gets greenlit. So.
Right.
So anyways, although I did, just off beat, I saw an interview with Tarantino on Howard Stern when he was doing that. He does that Sirius radio, that subscription radio thing.
Yeah, Howard Stern's channel. Yeah.
And what's his name? Tarantino he was talking to him, and apparently when he was doing his movie for the Hateful Eight, he was trying to get this movie theater that was that's special to him. I forget which one he said, but it was like a special one in California, LA area, and he was trying to rent it out for that week for his opening of his new movie. And apparently, the people from Disney and Star Wars wanted to extend theirs for another week. Now, Tarantino and his, movie house and people, they were like, they already had contracts signed that, yeah, we're going to be showing it in your movie theater. Mm-hmm. And they, apparently Disney threatened, that movie theater and say, you'll never get any of our, Disney movies ever again if you don't extend this for another week.
Seriously?
Yeah. And, so they were strong arming them. And Tarantino was like, are you kidding me? It's like, you're like the biggest movie, like, throughout the world, and you're going to make it about this little movie theater. And so I wonder, honestly, if Tarantino's like thing about Star Trek might be just to spite Disney. I don't know, but it crossed my mind. I happened to see the interview like within the last week or two, and just on YouTube, and I was just watching stuff, and I was like, wow, that's interesting. So that's pure speculation on my part.
Well,
for spite. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. I mean, he's a big director. He's like a big name in Hollywood. He's like, I'll get those assholes. I'll make best Star Trek movie ever, and I'll put them on
How many of us wish we could stick it to somebody,
Oh, yeah,
so,
right?
If he's got the opportunity to stick it to Disney, I mean, I love you, Disney. Hey, if you want to hire me to be one of your voices, you can find me at, hollymichellev.wixsite.com/voiceover. However, if you got the opportunity to stick it to somebody who did you wrong, sometimes you should take advantage of it. Sometimes you should turn the other cheek. It's his choice. Which one he decides to do.
I guess. I heard that, and that when I thought, I was like, this was, because the interview was a couple years back, and I remembered, like, the Tarantino Star Trek thing kind of came back, like, a little more than a year ago. I'm like, I wonder if he just kind of like, what, those assholes from Disney, maybe I'll start working together on this idea for a Star Trek script, since because everyone always says, Star Wars is like the antithesis of Star Trek. I don't see it that way, but a lot of people see it that way. Like, it's like, it's Coke or Pepsi kind of thing, but anyways.
We like sci-fi, so that is all encompassing.
Yes, very much so. I just watched, over the weekend, I watched Return of the Jedi with my kids, so
nice.
I hadn't watched that in a while. I was like, I just popped it on. I was like, oh, it's a good movie. Yeah. So, well, should we get into Tuvix?
Yes, let's get into Tuvix. Yeah, this is the episode that I never finished. So I started watching Voyager just because I wanted to watch Voyager, and I think I stopped this episode halfway through, and I haven't watched it in over a year. So let's get into Tuvix.
You're like, why did we pick this one? This is a weird episode, I gotta say. This is, in so many ways,
it was just, life blew up, and I didn't have time to finish it or go back to it, and then at the thought of it was just like, It wasn't like I was like, yeah, I'm turning this shit off.
Do I really want to know what happens at the end of this? Not really.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Well, I had seen other Voyager episodes, so I knew that they were going to be separated. But it was just like,
yeah,
I don't know. So.
Right. Well, so this is Voyager. This is season 2, episode 24, and this first aired May 6, 1996. And Tuvix, starts off with Voyager is, for some reason, they detected a rare flower that might have nutritional supplements, and they send Tuvok and Neelix to collect some specimens down on the planet. And we get a little banter between the two, just seeing basically that these two people
are very different.
Very different people. So, anyway, as they are doing their thing, they get basically said, hey, you can beam up. And as they beam up, there's a transporter malfunction, and they see that Neelix and Tuvok have been merged into one being, and even a Starfleet uniform has
come of it.
Weird, it has become like the weird combination of Tuvok and Neelix, which was really funny too.
It was like a doctor's office chair turned into a uniform, which is all of Neelix's outfits.
Yeah, exactly. It's like those paintings that you would see in doctors' offices or
the patterns on the carpets.
Yeah, you're like, and somebody designed that.
Right.
There's like this artist that's putting together these designs, and they'll just be the most blandest, fabrics and carpets that'll be ever made, and nobody will go crazy for them. And
those are the carpet patterns you avoid when you're on The Sims.
Oh my god, The Sims! My kids are playing The Sims now.
Oh, fuck
it's
yeah!
Hilarious! Oh my god! Oh my god! It's so
That's
hilarious.
Amazing. I love The Sims. I need it, but I don't have enough space in my computer, as we now know.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I used to play The Sims a long time ago, and actually probably right around the time this show was put out, and
you haven't had time for it since.
No, but what happened was I one of my characters I forgot what it was, but there were two. They weren't very smart about something. I can't remember. And I had them read a book. And I'm sitting there watching them read a book. And I was just like, you know what? I should be reading a book and not doing this. And I turned off the game. And I never played it again.
That is profound. And I do not mean that in an insulting or unsincere way.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I need to do other things with my life, I think. So, then watch this simulation of a human get smarter. Anyways. So Neelix is now, combined with Tuvok, and Kim calls for security, and then he realizes that this is
not some random person.
Yeah, not some weird guy you picked up at the Marriott Hotel someplace. And he's both combined, and so they bring him down. Obviously, the doctor, and Kes is totally freaked out.
Yep.
She's just like, she's like, I don't even want to talk to this guy.
Yep.
And she has to do some scans of him, and
he's like, don't you think it would be more comfortable if someone else handled these tasks?
He's like, just please shut up and don't move, And so, and during that time, they settle on the name of Tuvix. So, whatever. It's a strange name to settle on, but I guess it works, right?
It works.
It sounds like Twix to me. So
Twix.
Anyways, so Janeway is obviously she's confused as well, because she has to figure out what to do with Tuvix now, because she doesn't think maybe she can trust him yet at his Tuvok's old station at the tactical post, and
yeah, because you wouldn't put a cook in a tactician's billet.
It would be hilarious.
Like that's how you get movies like Down Periscope.
Yeah, Down Periscope. Oh my god, I haven't thought about that movie in a long time either. Jeez. Is that Kelsey Grammer?
Kelsey, no.
Frasier.
The one where are you thinking of the guy who does Naked Gun?
No,
I don't think he's in that.
The guy who did Frasier, who's I don't. Well, whatever. I'll have to look it up later. I thought that's what it was.
I'm going to look it up now. You keep talking.
All right. So, so they discuss. They have a briefing that he's invited to, and they're obviously talking about Tuvix's situation, and they say that the plant might have something to do with it. So, Tuvix just yells out "sex," and everyone's like, "Pardon me," and he's like, "It might have something to do with symbiogenesis, which is where an organism kind of takes over another organism and kind of builds a hybrid off of that. So they're thinking that these orchids that they picked up from this planet might have something to do with that, because it had some of their some of those characteristics, those plants that they're picking up. So I think that when they beamed it up, that it kind of fused them, and it fused both of them together at the same time. So, and Janeway said that's the best theory I've heard all morning, so that's got to be
the only theory I've heard.
Yeah, that's the only theory. That's what she said. Yes, exactly. So, so that's what they have to work with, and they have to try to figure out what they can do. So they send people down on the shuttle bay to collect more plants, and then what they're going to do is they're going to beam them up and see if they can reproduce what they did by beaming up the two different forms of plants, see if they go together. And sure enough, that's exactly what happens. Mm-hmm. So, and again, we still get the same. We get this back and forth between Kes and Tuvix. That Kes just obviously she loves Neelix for some reason I can never figure out. But but she's just not into this combination. So I don't know. So this is not working for her whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And she's kind of depressed through this whole thing, which I guess, that's her guy. Mm-hmm. And that guy is on two guys now. So I don't know. So from there, they like I said, they go to the planet, they try to beam these things together, but the problem is that they can't seem to pull these things apart. They say that basically what happens is the plants become total cellular collapse if they try to pull these flowers apart genetically. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't work at all for them. And so during that time, Tuvix becomes just part of the crew, kind of. He operates as in the tactical office, tactical position that Tuvok did, and then he even takes over for Neelix more than once, where the different crew members trying to run the kitchen are making a disaster of it. So he fills in for that as well. So he's pretty busy, doing all those things. So, and then we get from there. They since he's part of that, he becomes I guess he basically stays away from Kes as much as possible, because Kes has kind of shown that she's still not comfortable with what's going on with this hybrid of the two, and but he's made friends with different other people on the ship,
right?
And they seem to get on well, and it's actually pretty interesting because the character seems definitely to jump between Tuvok and Neelix. Either we get a very stern and cold version, like Vulcan version, and then we get a Neelix, which is kind of a little silly, a little very talkative and stuff like that. So, and this goes on for a few weeks, and
yeah, it's 2 weeks until they figure out that they can separate them.
Yes. And they find they can put a certain kind of radioactive isotope that will attach itself to one of the original DNA strands, and not the other one. So,
which means they can differentiate when they beam them out of each other.
Right. And so they're all ecstatic. Kessa's happy. Janeway's happy. But Tuvix is like, I don't want to go anywhere. I'm happy being Tuvix, and I want to do it. So they have a debate between Tuvix and Janeway, and Janeway's like, you have to know that these people, Tuvok and Neelix, would gladly die for any of their crewmates if it was ever called to. And he's like, yeah, that's fine, but that's not me,
right?
And he's like, I view these two as my parents. They bore me, So, and then, he's like, don't I have a right to live? And Janeway's like, yeah, you kind of got me there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tuvix goes to Cass and tries to have her talk to Janeway and console, not console, but to try to bring her around. But Cass is just like, he wants me to talk to you about, not separating him, but I don't want you to do it. I want you to separate these two.
Right.
It's too weird. It's too weird. And so Janeway is like really like, oh shit, what do I do? And then we get this almost final scene where Tuvix reports to his duty at Tactical, and Janeway comes out and says, I gotta talk to you in private, and he makes a scene.
He does, and I feel like that indicated right there that he did not belong. Do you know what I mean?
You don't belong on the ship, making a scene like that. Get the hell out.
Exactly.
He's like, this is murder. You know it's wrong. All of you know it's wrong. You're good people. You know this is wrong. And,
then he's like, I forgive you.
But it's like one of those things you're like, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. It was a very difficult decision.
I know. And Janeway is like cold-faced doing this. And like Doctor says, because of the Hippocratic Oath I've taken, I don't do no harm. I can't do this. So she goes, all right, step aside. And she gives him the isotope to separate the DNA. And she works the medical transporter. And we get them separated.
Right.
And I don't know. It's obviously both seem to be happy that they're apart. Obviously, Cass and Neelix are very happy. But Janeway just kind of walks out, and you just see this very solemn look on her face, like, what the fuck did I just do? Was that the right thing to do?
Right.
And you just get credits, and that's the end of it. Yeah. So you don't get any consolation at all.
No.
She doesn't. So you're kind of felt like, what did I just watch there?
Yeah.
It's like she just killed Quasimodo. I don't know. So it's definitely interesting. So Holly, after seeing this, what did you feel about Tuvix?
I mean, he's an interesting character, especially considering he's a blend of two characters that we know.
Right.
So that's fascinating, but I don't know. I wouldn't say I liked him. You know what I mean? Because, like, especially the way he acted on the bridge, like, I understand self-preservation, but
right.
I also, he's got Tuvok in him. He should be able to reason with himself.
Sure,
like,
true.
Like, I get it. It's a predicament. I guess I could be on the wrong side of the line here, but I don't know. I definitely prefer them separated. For a costume, from a costume standpoint, I hated his hair.
Oh, I know, that was weird.
Because I love Neelix's mohawk. So they made him look like what's that dog? An English crusted?
Oh, I don't know. I'm very bad with dog breeds.
They're the hairless dog that has, like, big hair coming out of its ears, but it's, like, naked everywhere else.
Really?
That's what it reminded me of. Like, give him some good-looking hair at least. I mean, I get that you're blending two aliens, but...
Right.
That was just a costume standpoint that I was, like, irritated with. And as far as, like, I feel like this episode is a really good example of what people want but aren't getting out of Discovery as far as the soap opera-y standalone episodes.
Yeah.
This is a prime example of an episode that stands alone and doesn't carry into other episodes. And I think that's why a lot of people really liked Star Trek when it came out. Because it was soap opera-y, but it wasn't a soap opera. I don't know.
Yeah, you didn't have to know the full thread of what's happening. You could just, use
pick up an episode.
I know these characters. I might not know everything, but I can just kind of follow along.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is a benefit for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I didn't hate the episode. I think it was interesting. It was cool that a plant indigenous to an alien planet was the cause of the problem, and they figured it out, which was cool. And I think it touched on some good points. Like, I think that it was very difficult for Janeway to make the decision to separate them, and I wished we would have had some resolve as to, like, hearing from the characters themselves whether or not Tuvix was still a part of them, or if they were conscious during it, or if they were just not there at all,
Right.
That would be interesting to know, and also I'd kind of like to know, because I haven't seen the whole of Voyager, I'm just curious to know if Janeway carries this for a while.
Yeah, it seems, I don't know, I don't want to say, like, silly at first, because it seems so silly that you combine these things, together. Two great tastes that don't go together. But it's one of those things that to divide them after what happened seems ethically wrong, especially after he puts protest to it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely.
But it's like, but don't they get a right too?
Right.
I mean, wouldn't Neelix and Tuvok, shouldn't they have a right to say, I want to live my life out too? My life wasn't over. Right.
And I think ultimately it came down to, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And
nobody needs you, Tuvix.
Well, everybody liked Tuvix. I think everybody liked Tuvix more than they liked the other two.
Oh,
but
really? You think so?
I do, Tuvix made better food. He made better conversation. I think people liked him more than the two as individuals. But I think also that's probably where a lot of the protest would have come in, because, Neelix didn't have, people talk to Neelix and people like Neelix, but they don't hang out with him like he's worth much. Yeah. And they were when he was Tuvix, so it's just kind of...
Yeah. I keep on going back to this idea of, like, a Frankenstein monster. Because it's like you're jamming these things together, these parts together, and people look at it as just an abomination, a monstrosity. And it's like we just hate that as a community or as a society. We just goes like, ugh, what is that? Like, get rid of it. It's a weird thing. I don't know. It's maybe it's just something like deep in our pits of our stomachs, or deep in our cerebellum somewhere, that just says, like, no, this should not be.
I don't know. I mean, I see your point, but I feel like if you took the ability to bring back the other two out of the equation, and this was something, it was a way to salvage the lives of both men, I think it would be accepted, and it should, because it was a way to save the two lives. But because it was a weird botanical catastrophe.
Botanical catastrophe. Oh, that should be the subtitle of this episode. I love it. That's really clever, actually.
I just feel like it wasn't something that was necessary. It didn't need to happen. It was an accident. And,
Yeah. I agree. I agree that
it's hard to say you go one way or the other, isn't it?
It is, because the thing is, okay, first of all, my card's on the table. I've always hated Neelix. I wish Neelix would die in a fiery car wreck someplace. I never liked his character. I just wish his character would go away. Tuvok, I've always been cool with. I thought Tuvok was the quintessential Vulcan. You know, he's perfect. He's great Vulcan. Them put together, it's sort of like they went to a planet and life from a plant came and took over and started doing its thing. You know, nobody told Voyager's crew to come down there and take those plants and beam them up. Mm-hmm. But once they did, they gave that plant permission to do what it does.
Okay.
And that is the life force of the universe, whatever you want to call it. And it's them commingling on different planets and you coming back and you got this disaster. So because that happens, you know, Tuvix should exist.
I see what you're saying.
This is kind of like the pathway of the unit. Now, if they could separate them without, and like you said, and keep Tuvix alive, then we'd have no moral dilemma. Mm-hmm. But I almost feel it's like that trolley things. Like, can you have a chance to throw the switch and kill one guy or kill like a bunch of other guys?
Right.
You know that dilemma thing, that ethical dilemma.
The train dilemma.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Divert the train and kill 5 men or kill 20 people or something.
Yeah. But then you change it. You change it like, now you can push a fat man off a bridge and stop the train, and you'll save them, but you obviously kill the fat man. And people are abhorrent to it. They're like, no, I would never push a man, but I'll pull a lever, kind of thing. So was Janeway kind of put with that decision of push the fat man off the bridge kind of thing and stop the train, you know, that she has to save those group of men working on the tracks further down, you know, kind of thing. It's a hard thing. Obviously you're killing one man to save 2 and the rest of their lives and their families. Like, you know, Tuvok has a family, you know, so has a wife, and I don't know if he has kids, but I can't remember. But, anyways, that's the hard part for me after watching this. I really, I wish they explored the depth of this a little bit more, but maybe this was just enough, just a taste, because, you know, the Tuvix character, as you said, flipping out on the bridge doesn't fit in. Right. You know.
He's definitely far too emotional.
Yes. And, you know, putting him in that position, you know, he showed his colors, you know, who he is. And he's not what, you know, Tuvok would be like. And, you know, who knows? Maybe he's not like what Neelix would be like either. So, but, you know, but a lot of times that's what we're put into. Like, you know, we're offsprings of our parents, but we don't get all their attributes or, right, you know, their characteristics. So, for good and for bad. So, I don't know. It's a tough one for me when I watch this. The other side of it is, I really think that, the guy who played Tuvix, Tom Wright, he did an excellent job. I can't say enough good things about it. It's just like, he kind of, especially in his first couple scenes, the way he jumps between Neelix and Tuvok.
Yeah, he did really well.
Holy shit, what a good actor. Like, he would, like, get, like, very, you know, stern and cold, and then he'd get, like, really, like, animated, and, you know, his eyes would light up, and you would almost see the Ethan Phillips character of Neelix coming through. So, I thought that guy did fantastic. He's in a ton of different, I mean, he's still acting today, so, Tom Wright, this is his only, no, I'm sorry, he's done some other stuff, actually. He's been in some, different, what should I say, as, some different, Star Trek as well. I thought it was the only one. No, he's done quite a few others. But he was also, I guess he was considered for Cisco at one point.
Oh.
So, yeah, but he didn't quite make it. So, but anyways, interesting. The whole thing's very interesting. The other thing is, if you were to find out that your husband was meshed together with somebody that maybe you respect, but obviously there's nothing there, between the two of you, could you deal with that? Like, I wonder that too. I was thinking, like, could I just like say, yeah, I could deal with it? Because I felt like Cass was sort of just like, like, no, and I was like, well, wait a second, like all the parts that you like are still there. I mean, it's still Neelix. It's just you got a different side of them.
It would be like having a relationship, like an open marriage with another couple. That's what it would be like. Because, say, Michael was blended with our good friends, our good friend Dave, and I'm good friends with Dave's wife, Bree, and say they were blended into one person. If they were interested in me, that would be weird because part of it would be Dave. And then if they were interested in Bree, I'd that would be weird because that would be partly my husband. So, like, obviously, if they wanted me there, I would be there as a friend, and with open communication between me and the other wife, me and Bree. Right. Maybe something else, something more. Who knows? But no, it just seems really, I commend Cass for being courteous, conscientious of the other family, of the other, spouse. And yeah, I would be there no matter what. However, at what capacity? That's the thing.
What it was, yeah. I wondered that myself. Like, I guess it's whoever they were combined with. It's like if there's anything there that you can latch on and say, like, I could do, I could have a relationship with this person. But let's face it, Tuvok would probably be, I'm not going to say easy to have a relationship with, but it's maybe a little more easier than like if you had someone that was a little more wilder,
Oh yeah.
So
if Michael was accidentally combined with, I don't know,
some crazy
say
guy.
One of the other Marines that he's around.
It definitely would be a big flat no.
It would be a very difficult, it would change him so much that it would be like, it wouldn't be the same person. And if he at times acted like the same person, it would be like whiplash.
Yeah, right.
So if you look at it as two way different people, which I think that's what the whole point was. I'd be there for Michael, and I am fully committed to death do us part, and I wouldn't go off and get married to somebody else or have relations with somebody else, but I don't know that I could handle relations with him.
In technical terms, that it would
your longer
husband,
be
he was
my husband.
It was not really your husband anymore. It's whoever. But how about this question? If you could you would you want to be combined with somebody else to make a better Holly? Would that be something you considered? Like I've wondered that myself, not even watching the show. Like, if I could just have someone who's a little smarter, a little more, like all the things that I'm lacking, wouldn't that be worth it,
Well, the only problem I foresee with that is that if it's the way this happens,
you're gonna be a real weirdo.
Well, it depends on who you choose. Because if you choose in Holly, she's pretty weird. But if this was something you did out of choice, you would fully know that your consciousness is going to be gone. You would be essentially dying to form another human or another humanoid being. So I don't know that I would do that for the sake of more bodies in the world.
More bodies in the world.
Even if we go the opposite direction, and if it's like a space-saving thing, and we're like, oh, let's just combine everyone together,
or upload yourself to the cloud or something like that, like
Black Mirror type shit.
how they to save the population and the consumption of humans. We're just going to download your memories and the consciousness to this hard drive. And, you can do all the things you used to do. It's going to be sort of like the Matrix. You can do whatever you want.
It's like the retirement planet in Futurama.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right, exactly. But technically, you're going to die. But if you think about it just for a moment, like when they beam people down, you're technically disassembling them on a molecular level. Mm-hmm. You're technically dying.
Yeah, that's true.
And then they just reassemble you just right after that. So, I don't know. I've thought about that too. Like, every time you jump on a transporter pad, those characters are technically are dying. Over and over again. I mean, maybe it's painless, but I don't know.
I don't know either.
If I could be combined with somebody who is worth it, maybe, not the yokel local down the street, maybe somebody a little better. Mm-hmm. maybe that'd be worth it, but I don't know. That's a tough one, of course. Because then you do get into the ethics of what happens to you when you're combined to a person, So, I don't know. And there's bad traits, period. So, everyone has their bad habits, bad traits, bad personality flaws that, it'll come up sooner or later. Yeah. So, I mean, you're not just going to get all the good things. I mean, Neelix is personable and is a good cook and resourceful, while Tuvok is analytical and efficient and smart. But, put together is great, but they still don't have it all figured out. Right. But I don't know, maybe those two characters did work out better together.
They were like I said, I think that they were at least more likable. They touched on the fact that Tuvix was a better cook than Neelix, but they didn't touch on the fact that he was a better, tactical advisor. He was a good tactical advisor. His knowledge was there, but it didn't say whether or not the blending made it any better.
The only thing that they mentioned was that he was going to run some kind of test. And it was supposed to take him like 10 days, and he did it like in a day because he followed a hunch. So he kind of followed a hunch where like Tuvok would never do that. Yeah, exactly. So, but anyways, I don't know. I still have a lot of questions about Janeway taking. I mean, that's technically in Star Trek, the captain's got to make that decision at some point. You gotta basically pull the Band-Aid off or leave it on, kind of thing. Yeah. And it's gonna hurt or it's gonna stay there. So, she was like, well, I'd rather, deal with these two different people the way they were instead of this weird thing.
Do you think she would have given him a chance if he had come quietly?
I think she made her decision. I think when Janeway makes her decision, that's it. I just think, his hysterics were never going to change her mind either way. If he went out dignified, I don't think she'd change his mind. Or she'd change her mind. So,
I don't know. I feel like if he had a little bit more decorum's the right word, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
She may have been like, this is my decision, but we need to run some tests.
Right.
Maybe there's a way to save you or something, you know. Although then that would have been story arc, and it wouldn't have really been, you know, for that time of Star Trek anyway.
And you have to admit, it really left you with a heavy note at the end of it. You're like, whoa,
yeah.
All right. You know, she just like walked out, and you just like kind of close up on her face, and you could tell that was bugging.
You could see the regret. Like, she didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But she felt it was the right thing to do. And,
I know.
You know, that's good. That's what a captain does.
Mm-hmm. The captain has to make a decision.
Yeah. And
I mean, he or she has to make that decision. And sometimes that decision is not popular. And sometimes it's not well received.
Right.
And you just got to say, this is what, you know. Obviously, if you become captain by that point, you know, all your experience, all your knowledge and life, you know, the road of your life has led to this. So hopefully you have something, you know, to make those decisions with the proper tools. And yeah, to go forward. But I don't know. I don't hate this episode. It's so, the transporter ones are silly to me. I mean, even going back to the original series where Kirk gets divided with the evil Kirk. Mm-hmm. That was so silly to me back then too. I just like, come on, like we're just doing weird shit now. I don't know. It's just weird. So I don't know. But it's still it's interesting that they would even. There were different things. Like I distinctly remember there was a one of the original series, or I think it was original series, or was it Next Gen, where they turned old, or was it when they turned young that they had the memory in the transporter how they were before, and they could just transport them back to where they were, or something like that. I can't remember, but it was something like that. And I always wonder why don't they just do that every time they have a transporter accident? It's just like, if they have the memory of how they beamed down the first time or the last time, why not just go back to that and just transport that person back? You know, maybe they forgot, they don't know what happened the last day or a couple weeks, but yeah, I can't remember that episode often. It might have been the Deadly Years from the original series, but it's been a long time since I've seen the Deadly Years, so.
Y'all could ask me what I did last week, and I'm like, I don't know. And you guys are like, this episode titled blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he wore a green pin on his lapel. And I'm like, where the fuck do you get this information? And you're just like,
don't worry, Holly. I don't remember what I did yet last week or yesterday either, but I can remember all this bullshit. So.
Well, it's impressive to some of us, so I commend you for that.
Thank you, I guess. When I start making my millions off it, then I can thank myself.
Right.
Well, is there anything else we want to talk about Tuvix? Twix. You know, there are so many scenes of this Dave would be having a field day with right now.
Oh, I'm sure.
And we would be laughing and going, oh my God, stop. So, Dave, you are missed. It's too bad that you weren't for this episode, because there would be so many
two-dick jokes and
threesome jokes, and I don't even know. There'd be a lot of weird things going on. So yeah, we don't get it. So next week, though, if all goes well, and if we get him back in regular rotation, so.
Yeah. I don't know if we talked about what we were going to do next week. I don't know if we should, because last week we talked about it and that fell through.
Yeah. I thought we were going to talk about a Deep Space Nine episode.
Okay.
I thought we were going to talk about The Visitor, but I'm not sure if that's what's going to happen. So, but we'll see, because that had to do with, what's his name? Who he interviewed at the Comic-Con.
Tony Todd.
He was the guy in Candyman, and he also played Worf's brother. So Tony Todd. So anyways, he said that was one of his favorite episodes doing.
Cool.
So yeah, it's cool stuff.
Are we going to have a clip from his convention where we could play during it, or?
I don't know exactly what he wants to do with that. So I guess we'll just have to see, how he wants to go forward with that. I know that he did a lot of work talking to people during the con, but I don't know. And he did interviews and stuff like that. So he might want to play clips, and who knows what else.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Well, yeah, I don't have much more to say about Tuvix. I mean,
it's interesting, but that's about it.
Yeah, I wanted more from his hair.
The hair was lacking. Hair was lacking.
Yeah, the acting was really good, and the character was good but flawed, and the hair was just flawed. So, go Janeway. It's difficult decision.
You just think that Janeway should have taken him out just because of bad hair design?
Yeah, I guess so.
Anyone with hair like that's got to go.
Well, it was really sad when he pled for his life and nobody stood up for him.
Yeah, everyone's like, just keep quiet. I'm edging for that promotion.
Yeah, and it does suck. But you know what? Hey, all you listeners out there who are naive to think that all your friends on Facebook are your friends, they're not.
They won't stand up for you.
They're not going to stand up for you.
No way.
They're there to shoot pool and drink beer and dick around. But when times get tough and shit hits the fan,
they're nowhere to be
found. They're not going to be there for you. So you take a look at that. Don't be Tuvix.
Don't be a Tuvik in life. All right. Don't be like him. Well, let's wrap up the show, and as always, you can find the Synthaholics at synthaholics.com, and you can also join us on Facebook at Facebook Facebook groups /Synthaholics. Definitely join us there. We always have a lot of great conversations with people who are into Star Trek and sci-fi as well. And definitely go to Twitter. You can check us out there. We could let's see. I'm at Blackbird 2004. Holly's at Lunar Thistle. Dave's at David_J_Duncan, and the show is at Synthaholics Duo. So you can tweet at us. Let us know if you like Tuvix. If you thought Tuvix should have lived.
Justice for Tuvix.
Justice. There you go. There's another great title. Yeah, I know. So definitely let us know what you think about Tuvix, and if Janeway made the right decision. It's a tough one for sure. See, our music is provided by the intro is by Dave Wilkes. The ending is done by Warp 11. You can find them at warp11.com. And if you go to Apple iTunes, rate and review us there, say some nice things, and leaves us some 5 stars. And as well, if you can't do that, or if you can also, go to our Patreon /Synthaholics, and leave us $1, maybe more, helps us fund the show. And lastly, we always encourage, if you can, let's tell your friends, tell your coworkers, tell your, church members, anybody that you might know that might be into sci-fi, into Star Trek, and into podcasts. If they're looking for new content, let us know that we exist.
Yeah.
It's a great way to just support the show. Share the show on your Facebook feed, and on your, on Twitter or anywhere else. So.
If you like us and you don't think your friends are going to like us, you should get new friends. And
That's
then tell
right.
them about us.
Yeah. Fuck your old friends. Get Tuvix. He would watch the show. He would listen to our show. He'd help us out.
Yeah.
For sure. And Janeway would kill him. Get new friends, Tuvix. I don't know. All right, well, Tuvix, poor guy, he's gone.
Poor guy.
Justice for Tuvix. Well, Holly, next week we'll have Dave back in the ring, so we can deal with that silliness. So.
Dick jokes incoming.
Incoming dick jokes. Yay! Yeah, I know. I don't just relate that to him, but that's...
No, you guys are both super knowledgeable, and I really do, don't know how I can be, as knowledgeable as you guys. You guys are...
Don't worry. You can watch enough of these shows, you will.
I don't know.
No.
I've seen an awful lot of Doctor Who, and sometimes people are like, yeah, I don't know. I guess I am a little more knowledgeable at Doctor Who than I am Star Trek, but that's a good point. But I still feel dumb, and you guys are smart in comparison to my knowledge on Star Trek, so...
I wouldn't go that far, but we definitely have watched too much Star Trek in our lives. How about that?
How about that?
All right, well, as Dave always says to end the show, live long and prosper, one and all. Bum, bum, bum. But, that's what it comes down to, is there wasn't a lot to say. I mean, compared to, like, Avatar, oh my god.
There was a lot.
I
I hope people weren't annoyed with how much I spoke best episode.
Why?
Because they're definitely not used to hearing me talk that much.
Yeah, no, you took a big part of the, burden on that one. Yeah, there was a lot going on that one. Ooh, shit. Well, what more can you say about Tuvix?
I don't know. I think we said it all.
He's just this guy.
This was probably the quickest recap we've ever done.
There's not much to talk about.
I know.
It's just like they get pushed together. Cass is uncomfortable, and
he makes dinner.
Organizes
the kitchen, and
Janeway executes him. There's not much more to say about this whole thing.
Right.
Sometimes you just hate things no matter what. So
yeah, I don't know what I have ever watched, read, or done that I just hate. I'd have to really think about that.
I'm sure there's something.
Maybe...
I'm sure there's something you've watched and be like, oh, this sucks.
I'll have to get back to you. Because, I've liked some terrible movies.
Yeah, but there's something redeeming about those terrible movies. Like, there's something silly or fun about them.
Yeah.
There's some movies that just, like, I remember there was one Sandra Bullock movie years ago I watched. I was like, this is the dumbest movie I've ever seen. It was like a rom-com kind of thing. It was all so predictable, and it just was like, come on. Like, there's just nothing even like redeemable in my eyes. I don't even know if you consider that a rom-com, but maybe it was.
We should find a rom-com to talk about.
Is there any rom-com
sci-fi rom-coms?
There's gotta be.
We'll have to find one.
Come on, there's gotta be a sci-fi rom-com.
Yeah, if not...
Oh no.
I live near LA. I could find somebody to help me do it. My stepmother's an alien.
That's hilarious.
Splash.
That's funny. Happy Accidents. Oh, Stardust. Did you ever see Stardust?
I love Stardust. That's a rom-com.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Oh, we could do Stardust, because I have Have you ever read the book?
I've never read the book, and I do love Neil Gaiman,
yes.
So he's awesome.
Yes.
Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeves. That's a very old movie. Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
I wasn't a big fan of Scott Pilgrim.
No, but it's like a rom-com. It's kind of like sci-fi-ish. Groundhog Day. I don't know if you call it... It's more of a weird comedy, but I guess there's Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh, that one's good, but that's a lot to go through.
It's a lot, and it's very dark.
It is dark. We'll have to talk it over, see if Dave has any interest in doing a rom-com.
I know, it'd be kind of funny. That'd be hilarious.
Don't want to make us look like dum-dums. unless it's unavoidable.